My roommate asked me to share her hotel room for one night. Then confessed the real reason she booked only one bed. The moment I pushed open the hotel room door and saw there was only one bed, my stomach dropped. The reservation had been made weeks earlier. My roommate had assured me everything was arranged. We were attending a daytime professional conference in another city, and after a long drive under the bright summer sun, all I wanted was a shower and a few hours of rest. But there it was. One room. One bed. And a look on her face that told me this wasn't a mistake. Before we begin, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that every person carries a story we can't see, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Ancient Truth for more emotional and inspiring stories. I stood frozen beside my suitcase while sunlight poured through the large hotel window. Outside, the city buzzed with life. Cars moved through crowded streets. People laughed on sidewalks. Everything seemed normal except for the strange tension hanging between me and my roommate. Her name was Azaria Vale. For nearly 2 years, we had shared a small apartment near our university campus. We weren't best friends, but we got along. We split bills. Shared grocery runs. Exchanged occasional advice about classes and life. Yet there was always something mysterious about her. Some nights she stayed awake until dawn staring at old photographs. Sometimes she disappeared for hours without explanation. And whenever conversations drifted toward family, she changed the subject. I respected her privacy. Everyone carries invisible wounds. But standing inside that hotel room, I sensed that whatever secret she had been hiding was finally reaching the surface. The conference occupied most of the day. We listened to speakers, attended workshops, and walked through exhibition halls filled with people chasing opportunities and dreams. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about the room. About the single bed. About the sadness behind Azaria's eyes. Late that afternoon, dark clouds gathered across the horizon. By evening, rain tapped softly against the hotel windows. We returned exhausted. Neither of us spoke much during the elevator ride. The silence felt heavy. Almost fragile. When we entered the room, Azaria set her bag down and stood by the window. The city lights reflected in the glass. For a long time she said nothing. Then she finally turned toward me. And in that moment, I realized she looked terrified. Not nervous. Not embarrassed. Terrified. The kind of fear someone carries when they are about to reveal a truth they have hidden for years. She took a deep breath and slowly explained why she had booked only one bed. It wasn't because of money. It wasn't because the hotel had made a mistake. It wasn't because she forgot. She had done it intentionally. Because tonight marked exactly 10 years since the day her younger sister died. The room suddenly felt smaller. The rain outside grew louder. I sat down quietly and listened. Azaria told me that when she was 17, her family had traveled to another city for a dance competition her sister was competing in. The girls had shared a hotel room. Shared a bed. Stayed awake talking about dreams, future plans, and all the places they wanted to visit together. The next morning, everything changed. A tragic accident took her sister's life before noon. One ordinary day became the dividing line between before and after. Between happiness and grief. Between the person Azaria had been and the person she became. For 10 years she had carried guilt. Not because she caused the accident. But because she survived. Because she continued living. Because every birthday, every achievement, every happy moment felt somehow unfair. While her sister remained frozen in time. As she spoke, tears rolled down her cheeks. Not dramatic tears. Not loud sobs. Just quiet pain that had waited years to be heard. She admitted that every anniversary was unbearable. Every year she booked a hotel room somewhere. Every year she tried to recreate that final night. Every year she sat alone remembering. But this year felt different. This year she couldn't face it alone. And somehow, for reasons she couldn't fully explain, she trusted me. That trust hit me harder than anything she had said. Because trust is a gift. Especially from someone whose heart has been broken. I looked at the rain-streaked window. At the city lights blurring in the distance. At my roommate sitting there carrying a decade of sorrow. And suddenly the single bed didn't matter anymore. Nothing about the situation felt strange now. It felt human. Deeply human. The hours that followed became one of the most meaningful nights of my life. We talked. Really talked. Not like roommates discussing rent payments or grocery lists. But like two souls sharing truths usually hidden from the world. Azaria told me about her sister's contagious laughter. About summer bike rides. About secret jokes only they understood. About dreams that never had a chance to come true. For every memory she shared, another piece of the burden seemed to lift. The rain continued through the evening. The city grew quieter. And slowly, the walls she had built around herself began to crack. She confessed something else. Something even more heartbreaking. For 10 years she had convinced herself that moving forward meant betraying her sister's memory. So she stayed emotionally frozen. She avoided relationships. Avoided deep friendships. Avoided happiness whenever it felt too bright. As if grief were the last connection she still had. Listening to her, I realized how many people live that way. How many hearts remain trapped in yesterday. How many people mistake suffering for loyalty. But love was never meant to be a prison. Love is supposed to help us carry memories forward. Not chain us to the past. Near midnight the rain stopped. Moonlight slipped through the clouds. The room became quiet. Peaceful. For the first time all day, Azaria smiled. A small smile. But real. And somehow that felt bigger than any speech or dramatic moment. The next morning arrived bright and beautiful. Golden sunlight filled the room. Birds chirped outside. The city seemed washed clean after the storm. We checked out after breakfast. As we loaded our luggage into the car, Azaria looked different. Not completely healed. No one heals overnight. But lighter. As if she had finally set down a weight she had carried for far too long. The drive home took several hours. Fields stretched beneath endless blue skies. Road signs passed by. Music played softly through the speakers. For long stretches we simply enjoyed the silence. Comfortable silence. The kind that exists between people who understand each other. A few weeks later, I began noticing changes. Small changes at first. Azaria started accepting invitations she normally declined. She joined study groups. She laughed more. She spent less time staring at old photographs. More time creating new memories. Months passed. Seasons changed. Autumn painted the trees in shades of gold and amber. Winter brought cold mornings and warm coffee conversations. Spring followed with blooming flowers and fresh beginnings. And through it all, Azaria continued growing. Healing. Living. One afternoon she returned home carrying a cardboard box. Inside were dozens of items that had belonged to her sister. Photographs. Letters. Small keepsakes. Treasures preserved for years. I expected sadness. Instead, I saw peace. She spent the evening organizing everything into a memory album. Not to hold on to grief. But to celebrate love. That difference mattered. It changed everything. Then came another surprise. Inspired by her sister's passion for dance, Azaria volunteered at a community arts program for children. Every weekend she helped young students pursue the same dreams her sister once cherished. Watching her interact with those kids was remarkable. Her kindness seemed endless. Her patience extraordinary. For the first time, I understood something profound. Sometimes healing doesn't happen when we forget. Healing happens when we transform pain into purpose. Years later, after graduation, our paths eventually separated. Life carried us toward different cities and different careers. But we stayed in touch. Occasionally messages arrived. Holiday greetings. Life updates. Photos. One spring morning, I received a picture that brought tears to my eyes. It showed Azaria standing outside a newly opened youth arts center. A place she had helped create. A place dedicated to supporting talented children from struggling families. A place named after her sister. Beneath the photograph was a simple message. It read, "I finally understand." Moving forward never meant leaving her behind. I stared at those words for a long time. Because they contained a truth many people spend their entire lives trying to learn. The people we love never disappear from our story. They become part of who we are. Part of every act of kindness. Part of every lesson. Part of every dream we continue pursuing. And sometimes the greatest tribute we can offer them is to live fully. To love deeply. To keep going. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who may be carrying invisible pain. Your support helps Ancient Truth bring more meaningful stories to people around the world. Rose special request, comment below with the words, "Love lives on," if you believe the people we lose continue to inspire us through the lives we choose to live. Today, whenever I think back to that hotel room, I don't remember the awkward surprise of finding only one bed. I remember the courage it took for someone to tell the truth. I remember the healing that began with a single conversation. I remember how one night changed two lives. Because sometimes the people around us are fighting battles we cannot see. Sometimes a simple act of listening becomes a lifeline. Sometimes compassion matters more than solutions. And sometimes the most important thing we can offer another person is our presence. The world often celebrates grand achievements. Big victories. Huge milestones. But some of the most powerful moments happen quietly. In ordinary rooms. On rainy nights. Between two people willing to share the weight of a difficult memory. That night taught me that kindness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like staying. Listening. Understanding. And reminding someone they don't have to carry their pain alone anymore. The hotel room was never really about a bed. It was about trust. Healing. Forgiveness. And the extraordinary strength of the human heart. And that is a lesson I will carry for the rest of my life.